My adopted brother, banking on our family's favoritism, decided he was going to be the one to marry my fiancée. Fine. If he was going to throw morality out the window, so would I. I played along, agreeing on the surface while secretly starting things up with my soon-to-be sister-in-law. Then, on their wedding day, I played a video of us making out for everyone to see. I also let it slip that the baby in her belly was mine. My brother was already in poor health and pathologically jealous. The video made him cough up blood right there at the altar. He was gone before the ambulance even made it to the hospital. I had just gotten back from 4 years at Stanford when my parents and grandparents sat me down to drop a bombshell that completely shattered my worldview. They were planning on having my adopted brother, Ryan, take my place in the arranged marriage with the Russo family. The reason? Ryan had been in a car accident years ago that led to catastrophic organ failure. Medical science had nothing for him. The doctors said he wouldn't live to see the next year. Marrying my fiancée, Sophia Russo, was his dying wish. My grandparents and parents had always adored Ryan, so they decided to make his final dream come true. But that wasn't all. They also planned for Sophia to get pregnant via IVF with Ryan's child. After Ryan died, I would be expected to raise the kid for him. Oh my God. It took me a full 5 minutes to process the information, to confirm that what I was hearing was real. I was in shock. Just because Ryan was dying, I was supposed to just hand over my fiancée and then have her carry his baby, which I would raise after he was gone? What kind of twisted logic was this? Once the shock wore off, the pieces of my shattered reality started to settle. Thinking back on this family's history of blatant favoritism, I could almost believe they'd cook up something this insane. Years ago, after Ryan's car accident left him paralyzed from the waist down, he decided he couldn't stand the sight of me. So my loving parents shipped me off to college on the West Coast with a strict no-visits-home policy. I hadn't set foot in this house in 4 years. I guess this was my welcome home present. It was always like this. Growing up, my parents and grandparents showered Ryan with affection. His allowance was always double or triple mine, a psychological comfort, they called it, so he wouldn't feel like an outsider. If we both wanted the same thing, and there was only one, I was always the one who had to give it up. At parent-teacher conferences, both my parents would show up for Ryan, leaving me to fend for myself. Their obsession with him was so extreme that teachers and classmates at school actually thought I was the adopted one. And with their blessing, Ryan bullied me relentlessly all through school. But then, karma seemed to step in. A few years ago, Ryan was drag racing with a bunch of rich kids when he crashed. The accident left him a paraplegic and caused the organ failure that was now killing him. The doctors were clear. Modern medicine couldn't save him. He wouldn't last another year. I thought my ordeal was finally coming to an end. Once Ryan was gone, the bullying would stop. My family's love might finally find its way back to me. But I should have known better. Even on his deathbed, Ryan couldn't resist one last screw you. He wasn't just stealing my fiancée. He wanted me to raise his kid his legacy. Ethan, my mother said, her tone leaving no room for argument. This is how it's going to be. Ryan will marry the Russo girl in your place. We've already spoken to the Russos, she continued, and they've agreed. They're also on board with the IVF. The baby will be your brother's, so it's only fitting that you raise it. My grandmother chimed in, her voice soft but firm. Ethan, dear, this child will be a memory of your brother for all of us. It will be as if it were your own. You must promise to love and cherish it. Are you kidding me? They were already planning the kid's upbringing before a single thing had even happened. A cold laugh echoed in my mind. My father, noticing my stony silence, scowled. Who are you putting on that long face for? The doctor said your brother won't make it to next year. What's the big deal about him marrying the Russo girl? He went on, his voice hard. It's IVF. Your brother won't even touch her. She'll still be your wife eventually. The woman, the billion-dollar Clark Holdings, it will all be yours someday. What more could you possibly want? This is your brother's one and only dying wish. If you have any decency, you will help him fulfill it. The entire family was united. I was expected to sacrifice my fiancée to fulfill my dying brother's twisted fantasy. My poor Ryan. My mother started to sob. He's only 24, she wailed, tears streaming down her face. When I think about him being gone next year, I don't think I can go on living. It wasn't just her. My father and grandparents' eyes glistened with tears. The whole family, except for me and the absent Ryan, was drowning in a sea of grief. All I could think about was how I could send every single one of them to hell. To hell with all of them. I had put up with this for too long. They helped Ryan torment me my entire childhood. And now, even as he was knocking on death's door, they were still pulling the same crap. Did they really think I was that much of a pushover? As far as I was concerned, these people were not my family. If they all dropped dead tomorrow, I'd find a quiet place to light some fireworks and celebrate. Dad, Mom, Grandma, Grandpa. A voice called from the doorway. Sophia and I are back. It was Ryan. He was in his motorized wheelchair, being pushed by a stunningly beautiful woman. He flashed his parents and grandparents a smile that was pure innocence on the surface. But underneath, I knew, was the venomous heart of a deeply jealous man. My eyes flickered from Ryan to the woman behind him. She had cascading waves of dark hair and a face so gorgeous it could launch 1,000 ships. Sophia, Ryan had called her. My fiancée from the Russo family was named Sophia Russo. Though we'd never met, I knew this had to be her. She greeted my family warmly before guiding Ryan's wheelchair over to them. Mr. Clark, I brought Ryan home, she said. My father nodded, smiling graciously. Sophia, thank you so much for today. You've been so kind, taking Ryan out. It was my pleasure, Sophia replied with a polite wave of her hand. Honestly, I haven't had a chance to get out and explore much myself. I had a wonderful time with Ryan. It looked like Sophia and Ryan had already spent time together, maybe even developed feelings for each other. But I didn't buy it. Sophia Russo was the heiress to a fortune, a knockout by any standard. That a woman like her would fall for a paralyzed, average-looking guy who was going to be dead in a year. Not unless she was out of her mind. I looked at Sophia. Her eyes met mine. For a split second, I saw her eyebrows arch slightly before she quickly and smoothly looked away. Ethan, is that you? You're finally back. Ryan exclaimed, pretending he had just noticed me. He was all warmth and smiles. He turned to introduce us. Sophia, this is my younger brother, Ethan. Ethan, this is Sophia. She's going to be your sister-in-law. Ryan rarely smiled at me. Now, he was beaming like a man deeply in love. Ahem. My father cleared his throat, shooting me a stern look. He was clearly worried I'd make a scene in front of Sophia, who was supposed to have been my fiancée. But in that moment our eyes met, a brilliant, explosive idea for revenge sparked in my mind. Yes, I was going to destroy Ryan. And not just him, this entire family of sycophants. They'd gotten away with treating me like dirt when I was a kid because I was powerless. But I was an adult now. If they thought they could still control me, they were dead wrong. It's nice to meet you, sis. Sister-in-law, I stammered after a beat, as if snapping out of a daze. A slow smile spread across my face. She wasn't even married into the family yet, and here I was, calling her sister-in-law. Ryan's grin widened until he couldn't contain it. Sophia just smiled shyly and said nothing, as if accepting her new role. Seeing my apparent compliance, the rest of the family visibly relaxed. That evening, Sophia stayed for dinner. At one point, she excused herself to use the restroom. When she came out, I was waiting for her, and I cornered her back inside. Alone in the bathroom, I clicked the lock on the door. Sophia's beautiful eyes were fixed on me, trying to figure out what I was up to. What? What do you want? She asked. She sounded nervous, but her voice was steady. Don't worry, sister-in-law. I just want to talk, I said with a smile. She glanced around the bathroom, a smirk playing on her lips. Her expression said it all. Seriously? You want to talk in a bathroom? I knew what she was thinking. I closed the distance between us until we were almost touching. Don't, she said, pushing against my chest. Her hands were on me, but she barely used any force. When she realized I wasn't moving, she gave up. Our breath mingled. A faint blush crept up her cheeks. I leaned in, inhaling her delicate floral scent. Sister-in-law, I whispered, a wicked smile on my face. Are you happy with my brother? Sophia's eyes darted around for a moment before she met my gaze. What are you trying to say? Her response told me everything I needed to know. She was smart. This wasn't a woman with rocks in her head. And just like that, I knew I had found the perfect accomplice for the chaos I was about to unleash. Let's not play games, I said. You know Ryan is my family's adopted son. You were supposed to marry me. I know, she nodded softly. And you know his organs are failing, that he won't live past next year, right? Yes, I know, she said again, her tone flat. And you're still going to marry him? I asked, my eyes narrowing with suspicion. Sophia paused, then bit her lip. Yes, I'm still going to marry him. There was something in her eyes, a secret she was holding back. I realized then that she knew everything and was still willing to marry a dying, paralyzed man. That'd be a damn good reason. They also said they want you to have his child through IVF. Before I could finish, she cut me off. I know about that too. And they said that after your brother dies, you and I will get married, and the child will legally become yours. You'll be his father. She knew everything. I grabbed her arms. This doesn't make any sense. If you know all this, why would you agree to marry him? What did they offer you? To make a woman of her, standing willingly marry a broken man. The price had to be astronomical. Under my intense gaze, Sophia finally broke. You'd find out eventually anyway, so I might as well tell you now. Your family promised me that if I marry Ryan and have his child through IVF, they'll give me $500 million in Clark Holding stock. And there it was. It all made sense. No wonder Sophia was willing to endure this humiliation. For a $500 million stake in the company, she'd play along. It just went to show how pathologically biased my family was. To preserve a piece of Ryan, they were willing to give away a huge chunk of their fortune to buy off the Russo heiress. Knock, knock. A knock on the door made us both jump. It was Ryan. Sophia, are you in there? Sophia shot me a panicked look before answering. Yes, I'm here. What's taking so long? He asked. My stomach's a little upset. She said, improvising. The last thing we needed was for Ryan to find us in here together. But just as she finished her sentence, I leaned in and kissed her. Moi. The soft touch of our lips made her eyes go wide with shock. Moi. While she was still stunned, I kissed her again, a mischievous grin on my face. Her cheeks flushed a deep red. She shot me a furious glare, but didn't dare make a sound. Her silence only emboldened me. I wrapped my arms around her, pulling her tight against me, and kissed her again, deeper this time. I wasn't just stealing a moment. I was reclaiming what was mine. Afraid of making a scene, she didn't resist forcefully. At first, her lips were sealed shut, but slowly, as if her own instincts took over, she began to respond, hesitantly at first, then with a will of her own. Really, what we were doing wasn't so wrong. She was supposed to be my fiancée, and according to my family's twisted script, she was destined to be my wife anyway. So what was the harm in a little kiss? Sophia must have come to the same conclusion, because she let herself go, melting into the moment. We were lost in each other. Outside, Ryan was still there, muttering to himself. Upset stomach? But she was fine just a minute ago. After what felt like an eternity, I reluctantly pulled away. You bastard, Sophia hissed, regaining her composure. How could you do that to me? She furiously wiped her mouth. Do what to you? I teased, a smirk on my face. Oomph. She grunted, prying my wandering hands off her. I've been in here too long. I'll leave first. You wait a few minutes before you come out. She squeezed past me and started fixing her clothes in the mirror. I stepped up behind her. Sophia, think about this, I said, my voice serious. Ryan is a dead man walking. Is having his baby really worth it? She glanced at me in the mirror. They're giving me $500 million for one baby. You tell me if it's worth it. She had me there. I was speechless. For that kind of money, any woman would probably say yes. But I won't accept that child, I said, my voice low and dangerous. My fiancé having another man's baby, and I'm supposed to raise it. What do you take me for? If you have that baby, you become my enemy. And don't forget, I'm the real heir to the Clark fortune. I let the threat hang in the air. That got her attention. She turned to face me, a flicker of resentment in her eyes. What choice do I have? You're the heir, but your family didn't ask me to have your baby, did they? Was she blaming me for being powerless? It didn't matter. My plan was already halfway there. There's a way we can both win, I said, pulling out my phone. I moved behind her again, wrapping my arms around her in a protective embrace, and whispered in her ear, if you're interested, let's exchange numbers. We can meet tomorrow and talk. Sophia added me as a contact. She was hooked. The next day, before I left the house, I ran into Ryan in the upstairs hallway. With no one else around, he dropped the act. Well, little brother, he sneered, looks like you've finally learned your place. You're not going to fight me for anything anymore. His mind was completely warped. Ever since the accident, His entire existence had revolved around tormenting me. I kept my mouth shut, mentally calculating the best way to destroy him. I know what you're thinking, he continued. You think that once I'm dead, everything will go back to you. The company, Sophia, all of it. But I have some bad news for you. Before I go, Sophia is going to give me a child. A child who will take my place, who will continue to be spoiled and loved by this family. The smug look on his face as he lorded his family's favoritism over me was nauseating. I remained silent. I was saving it all for the main event. He wanted to leave a child behind. Fine. I would make sure that child was the biggest, most devastating surprise of his short life. After breakfast, I called Sophia and arranged to meet her at one of her family's private villas in Westchester to discuss the plan. It was secluded, perfect for a secret conversation. The second I walked in, I pulled her into my arms and onto my lap, picking up right where we left off in the bathroom. When we finally came up for air, she looked at me with a pout. Is this why you wanted to meet? Just to do this? What else? I chuckled. Disappointment clouded her face. And here I thought you were a serious partner. But your mind is only on one thing. She sounded let down, but she didn't get up. In fact, she seemed to deflate, melting into me. Actually, I said softly, we're already putting my plan into action. That got her attention. She sat up straight. We are, what do you mean? Explain. I smiled. My dear adopted brother just wants a child, and I don't want to raise his child. The solution is simple. We just substitute his baby with ours. We don't tell a soul. He dies thinking the baby is his. Problem solved. I spread my hands as if it were the easiest thing in the world. Substitute his baby with ours. Sophia repeated, processing. Then her eyes lit up. Oh, I get it. A mischievous smile spread across her face. She playfully punched my chest. I knew you had a devious mind last night, but I have to say, I like it. She wrapped her arms around my neck, completely at ease with our newfound intimacy. Devious, maybe, but I didn't see myself as the bad guy. Swapping out his kid wasn't something a saint would do, but no one who hadn't walked a mile in my shoes had the right to judge me. Anyone who had spent 20-plus years living in their adopted brother's shadow, who had to give up their own fiancée, would probably be even more ruthless. They say you reap what you sow. My kindness is for kind people. My cruelty is reserved for those with evil in their hearts. And this was the karma Ryan so richly deserved. Come on, I said, sweeping her up into my arms and heading for the bedroom. Let's go discuss the implementation details. For the plan to work, we had to get her pregnant as soon as possible, while also faking the IVF procedure at a clinic. Sophia knew exactly what that meant. She suddenly looked nervous. Wait, I've never really dated anyone before. You have to be gentle with me. What? I was stunned. You're kidding me. You've really never had a boyfriend. She blushed. My father was very strict. He didn't want me getting involved with anyone. She didn't have to say the rest. Her father had other children, an older son and daughter. The family business would go to the son. She and her sister were assets, meant to be married off to solidify business alliances. A pristine reputation was non-negotiable if you were going to be married into another powerful family. I didn't particularly care about that sort of thing, but I couldn't deny a thrill of victory. We were the original match, after all, and we were going to be married eventually. What happened now didn't matter. We spent the entire day at the villa and the entire next week working on the plan. In the midst of it, Ryan scheduled the IVF appointment. My parents insisted I come along to avoid any misunderstandings. Outside the operating room, Ryan, the master of drama, couldn't resist another jab. Brother, I wanted you here, so there are no hard feelings. Don't worry. Even though Sophia and I are getting married and having a baby, I haven't touched a single hair on her head. I'm just borrowing her womb. I didn't let him get to me. The doctors were on the Russo payroll. It was all just for show. Ryan, on the other hand, looked pale and drained after his procedure. I was genuinely worried he might croak before my grand finale. That would be no fun at all. I wanted to tell him to go home and rest, but to keep up the act, I just stood there, my face a mask of silent suffering. When Sophia came out, I rushed to her side. Are you okay? I asked, helping her up. I'll manage, she whispered, looking exhausted. Seeing our little tragic drama unfold, Ryan's lips curled into a triumphant smirk. He thought Sophia was now carrying his child. He had no idea I was genuinely concerned for her. Our week at the villa had taken its toll. Content that his legacy was secure, Ryan wheeled himself away, leaving us to our grief. 2 weeks later, Sophia went to the doctor. She came straight to the villa, waving a lab report in her hand, her face glowing. "I'm pregnant. In 9 months, you're going to be a father." Hey, keep it down. I corrected her quickly. "That baby is my brother's." She shot me an annoyed look, then threw her arms around me, her voice a playful whine. "It's yours, it's yours. It's just us here. Who are you trying to fool?" We both laughed. The plan was more than halfway complete. The rest would be easy. A few days later, Ryan and Sophia were scheduled to take their wedding photos. And of course, my parents made sure I was invited. I went, and when Ryan wasn't looking, I slipped into the dressing room for a few stolen moments with Sophia. During the shoot, Ryan kept looking over at me, that smug grin plastered on his face. I just kept my lips pressed together, trying not to smile as I savored the lingering taste of Sophia's lipstick. I had to maintain my look of a man in agony, watching the love of his life with his most hated rival. Halfway through, Ryan's fragile health gave out, and he had to go home. Sophia and I could barely contain our joy. We picked out a new wedding dress and took hundreds of photos together. One bride, 2 grooms. The photographer and his crew just stared, utterly bewildered. A month flew by, and soon it was the wedding day. Ryan was going to pick up the bride, and I, as the best man, had to accompany him. Just before we got in the car, he leaned in and whispered, "I can see how much you love her. Don't worry. As soon as she has the baby, I'll give her back to you." The usual provocation. I'd endured it for years. I could handle another 2 hours. He smirked, basking in his perceived victory. I couldn't help but let a small, mysterious smile of my own slip out. We were both smiling, but only one of us would be smiling at the end of the day. And I had a strong feeling that someone wasn't just going to stop smiling. Someone was going to drop dead. At the Russo mansion, Sophia's bridesmaids, on her instruction, created a series of playful obstacles for the groom. Ryan's body couldn't handle it, so the bridesmaids suggested that I, the brother, should step in. The result? I was the one who carried Sophia out of her house on my back. I was the one who got into the groom's car with her. The Russo family was delighted. On a day like a wedding, nobody wanted to see a groom who couldn't even stand. Ryan was deliberately put in a separate car, trailing behind the main motorcade, a thunderous expression on his face the entire way. But when we arrived at the venue, he was the one on the wedding stage. So what if he was in a wheelchair? He was the one getting married today, not me. Before the ceremony began, my dear parents, in front of all their friends and family, solemnly signed the stock transfer agreement. As I watched the $500 million in shares officially move into Sophia's name, I grinned. The real show was about to begin. It was time to exchange the rings. Ryan took the ring, held it in front of Sophia, and then paused, deliberately glancing over at me with a triumphant look. At that exact moment, the massive screen behind them flickered and switched. A slideshow of photos appeared, a man and a woman hugging, laughing. Then came the video clips. The two of them kissing, embracing, even intimate shots in a bedroom, and snippets of conversation about having a baby. The man and woman on the screen were, unmistakably, me and Sophia. A collective gasp went through the crowd as they recognized our faces. The entire venue erupted. "Oh my God, that's the groom's brother. The bride was sleeping with her brother-in-law. The groom just got cheated on at his own wedding. This is insane. Wait, I heard she was originally the brother's fiancée anyway. Something weird happened." The chatter was deafening. Everyone was feasting on the high society drama. The audio from the video sealed the deal. A clip of Sophia's voice, clear as day. "You're the real father of the baby in my belly. Don't even think about leaving us." The implication was obvious. Not only was she pregnant, but the baby wasn't the groom's. It belonged to me, the best man. The room exploded into another wave of shocked murmurs. Impossible. How could the baby be Ethan's? Ryan's face was a mask of disbelief. He looked from Sophia to me, his hand trembling as he pointed. You and Sophia, you betrayed me. You had a child behind my back." Sophia's words on the video were undeniable. My parents and grandparents were frozen in their seats, completely stunned. Sophia's parents, the Russos, were also there. Her mother looked mortified at first, but a quick word from her father seemed to change her perspective. "Well, the baby is Ethan's," he murmured. "That's fine. It's still a Clark. And Ethan is healthy. At least this baby won't be born fatherless." The rest of the Russo family seemed to agree. Sophia's sister, Isabella, smirked. "I think my little sister is brilliant for not having that other one's child. He's on his deathbed and still trying to trap someone with a baby? Disgusting. Besides, Ryan is adopted. How dare he steal his brother's fiancée in the first place?" Their conversation was not quiet, and their words carried clearly to the stage. Hearing this, Ryan's rage boiled over. You. He was so furious he could barely speak, his eyes locked on me with pure hatred. Ethan, this is all you're doing." He finally choked out the words, and then, with a violent spasm, he coughed up a huge mouthful of blood. "Ryan," my parents and grandparents screamed, rushing onto the stage. After spitting blood, Ryan went limp in his wheelchair, his eyes rolling back as his body convulsed. He was rushed to the hospital. Seeing him like that, Sophia's sister looked a little shaken. "Oh God," she muttered to herself, a hand on her chest. "Was it me? Did I do that?" The wedding, of course, was over. I found out later that Ryan didn't make it. He died of a massive stroke in the ambulance on the way to the hospital. The story blew up online. The wedding video went viral, and the initial consensus was that the bride and the brother-in-law had an affair and literally scared the groom to death. The backlash was intense. Within 2 days, our names were everywhere, and we were being bombarded with hate and death threats. At the time, Sophia and I were on a beach in the Caribbean. Seeing me so unconcerned, she threw her phone at me in frustration. "Look at this. Our reputations are ruined back home. Even my sister is getting dragged into it." She hadn't known I was going to play the video. Her plan was to keep up the charade forever. I had decided to flip the whole table over. I glanced at the phone and shrugged. "Just let it play out," I said calmly. My parents had called, of course, screaming accusations. I blocked their numbers. On the third day, once the online fury had reached its peak, I released my own collection of videos, footage I had secretly recorded of my family demanding I give up my fiancée, and clips of Ryan's many provocations and taunts. The public narrative flipped 180 degrees overnight. WTF is this story? They forced their biological son to give his fiancée to the adopted one. Is that even legal? This family is completely unhinged. You can tell the adopted son has been bullying the real son for years. Oh my God, the guy was dying and his last wish was to impregnate his brother's fiancée. That's sick. The parents and grandparents are just as bad. No wonder the son and fiancée got together in secret. Good for them. Okay, plot twist. I take back everything I said. Everyone should boycott Clark Holdings. The story was now a runaway train. The initial frenzy meant the reversal was just as powerful, and there was no containing it. Of course, the bot farms I'd hired to amplify the new narrative helped. The company's reputation was in the toilet. The stock dropped 5 points by closing bell. That's when I called my father. I offered to make the PR nightmare go away. My price, the 30% of the company's stock they controlled, another cool $500 million. He refused at first, calling me a thankless wolf. I hung up and paid for another wave of online attacks. The next day, my mother called. She was sobbing. My father and grandfather had both been hospitalized from stress. My grandmother had died of a heart attack that night. My father was in a coma. With the family on the verge of collapse, my mother had no choice but to agree to my terms, signing over the majority of their shares to me. I had no feelings left for them. Hearing that my grandmother was dead and my father was in a coma stirred nothing in me. I hung up the phone, turned to Sophia, and grinned. Let's go home. Soon after, I took over Clark Holdings. Sophia and I got married. I sent her sister, Isabella, a very, very large check as a thank you gift. My plan was always to provoke Ryan into a fatal rage. His body was too weak to handle that kind of shock. My new sister-in-law's scathing commentary had been the perfect assist. The following year, Sophia gave birth to a beautiful baby boy. I named him Julian Russo. He took his mother's last name, not mine. I wanted no part of the Clark DNA in him. lest he inherit their twisted sense of loyalty and we end up with another generation of a favored son tormenting the rightful one. We never had a second child. When my grandfather found out the heir to the Clark fortune had been given the Russo name, he had a stroke and died. My father was eventually declared brain dead. The doctor said we could pull the plug or not. I pulled it, and my mother, left alone and ostracized by me, couldn't handle the successive blows. She jumped from the roof of her penthouse. They were all gone. Finally, the whole family was reunited with their precious adopted son. Perfect.